Hi everyone, I'm Hoodie Angel Brandon, and welcome to another Fire Emblem Heroes unit build showcase. Today we have the Snowscape artist, Ignatz. We are going to be building this good boy and making him a secondary save armor for the Angel Army, the Angel Armor Division. And while Ignatz is not my absolute favorite character from Three Houses, he is a cool one. I actually realized that I've had him in every run of Three Houses, sometimes accidentally when he just kind of asked to join my class and I felt bad about denying him even on my no recruit run. So I guess in a way he's basically my teacher's assistant. And you might say, but Hoodie Angel Brandon, it's like March, it's too late to build a Christmas unit. Well, right over here, it's actually snowing right now, so I'd say he still fits the season. And normally I'm not into the red Santa suit, but I've got to say, Ignatz kind of wears it pretty well. It looks pretty dang good on him. And it's actually not red, despite what you might think. It's actually painted.
With the blood of his enemies.
Let me paint you a picture!
So yes, we are going to take this good boy and turn him into a somewhat defensive monster. And hopefully he ends up pretty good. Ignatz is cool. I've actually had my brother say that I remind him of Ignatz, which I'm still not sure exactly what he meant by it. But we both like to pursue artistic expressions, though I'm not so much of a painter as a writer, and I like making video things and stuff like that let me exercise a little bit of creativity. I guess I also kind of relate to him because of the feeling of pressure from family to do one thing when it's not really what you want to do. So he is a fairly relatable character, and he's one that's grown on me quite a bit, and a pretty cool one from Three Houses overall. Again, even if he's not quite my favorite archer boy. So we are going to build him to be another save tank similar to Alphonse, but a little different, since Ignatz is going to focus on speed, whereas Alphonse focused on pure defense. And first, we are going to have to buy more copies of our good boy here in the Grail shop. Going to redeem some of my many grails. And normally I would wait until we got the free copy from the monthly divine codes, but since he has rally attack speed, which is a very helpful chain inheritance fodder, I don't feel too bad about buying a copy early, and then when I get the extra copy I can save that for chain inheritance. So we are just going to buy 9 of these good boys and have him join our barracks. Alright, there is our 9th Ignatz, and now we will have to unlock their potential. And Ignatz is a character with a lot of potential. He can end up pretty solid in Three Houses, running around as an assassin or a sniper and critting everyone. Really love archers, of course, one of my favorite classes, and Ignatz is a pretty good one. So now we just have to promote these 9 Ignatz and the combat manual. We'll go ahead and start with that. And just unlock all that potential. Ignatz has been taking his studies very seriously and has earned himself a wonderful promotion. And there we go. All our Ignatz are ready to merge. So now Ignatz must obtain the power of all his alternate universe selves and get those wonderful stats. Pretty useful for him. Not all plus 10s actually end up using their stats, but I think Ignatz really will. He's got pretty solid attack due to just being a newer unit. And being a save armor, he also wants that def and res, but he's also actually a pretty fast armor. So we are going to be leaning into his speed a good bit, which will help differentiate him more from Valentine's Alphonse, our other armor at the moment. And so with that, I think he'll end up actually really using all of these stats, and it'll just feel like a very nice investment. +9. And finally, +10. Welcome to the Angel Army, Ignatz. And while he does use all of his stats pretty well, we are still going to want to lean in on that speed a bit more. So we are going to use some trait fruits, give him that plus speed. He does lose a smidge of res and HP, but every little bit of speed helps with the ever encroaching speed creep meta. So we're going to just bump that up a little bit. We could give him an Ascendant Fleuret as well, in which case I think I'd maybe go with plus attack, but I don't think he's going to need it that much. So since they are so rare, we're going to just hold on to ours for now. Maybe in the future, if we ever have extras, he could use one. But for now, we'll just stick with the plus speed. However, we are going to go ahead and give him some dragon flowers as well. Go ahead and use up some of those armored dragon flowers that I never seem to be able to use enough of. And just give him another +1 across the board. Looking very solid. Even with no weapon, he's still hitting 40 attack and 48 speed uninvested, which I think is actually... yeah, he's almost on par with Byleth, which is just kind of funny to see. And Byleth has summoner support and extra dragon flowers, so that's just kind of really funny that Ignatz is about on par with him if you discount those. And he still has very solid def, res, and attack. And as someone with a great eye for aesthetics, I feel like we need to do Ignatz justice with a lovely accessory, and I think that he is a good fit for the Kitsune Doodad EX, because it just looks like a little jingle bell. Very fitting. Go ahead and throw that on him. And normally I like to support my +10s with my other +10s. However, I feel like Ignatz is actually going to be a solid option for a partner with my Winter Lysithea. He'll be able to protect her from ranged threats while she just kind of swoops in and takes people down. This would be for summoner duels. I'm not sure if I'll actually end up using that team, but that's what I'm going to go with for now. So this does not matter nearly as much as some of my other supports, but just for fun, we'll go ahead and pair those up. However, I am keeping an eye on you, Lysithea. You better stop bullying my boy.
Yep. You're honestly a bit of a mess. Although you certainly look the part of a baby, so maybe that's asking too much. You're a sheepish, unreliable scatterbrain who can only ever think about what others think of him.
I'm watching you. Now we can get into inheriting skills, and Ignatz has very minimal inheritance requirements, similar to Alphonse. However, I think it's even less than Alphonse ended up needing. Armors in general, the way I want to play them, seem to be pretty cheap in terms of what they really need. They don't need to run a bunch of different builds, so I don't need to spoil them quite as much with a variety of skills, but we are still going to give him a few different options for his assist skill. Of course, we always want our trinity of reposition, drawback, and swap. Going to grab reposition from Ferdy Birdie, just kind of fitting since they're both classmates. Thank you for the gift, Ferdinand. Drawback and swap. Another gift, this time from Sedith. How lovely. However, next we are going to go and grab Rally Attack Speed from this Corrin combat manual. Similar to Alphonse, I feel like armors, since they don't necessarily need to be attacking on player phase, can use that time to rally and buff an ally instead. And we are going attack speed mostly because Ignatz has attack speed in his base kit already. Otherwise, I think it would be interesting if I had a melee save armor that he was going to be partnered with. He could run Rally Def Res and they could run Rally Attack Speed, and they could buff each other as necessary, since Ignatz is a bit of a speedier unit who could actually take advantage of the speed buff. But we're just going to go ahead and grab Rally Attack Speed since we can easily obtain it here, and we'll go ahead and grab Attack Speed Bond as well. He probably won't use it, but he actually does have mixed phase potential, I feel, since he's just very fast inherently. So he could theoretically use the Bond skill to kind of play a mixed phased set and attack on player phase to take out weakened enemies, but he probably won't be using that. Next, of course, we want Aether for that sustain. Very helpful to have, especially since he won't be able to passively heal off of his weapon like Alphonse can. It will just help his tanking a bit. Another option I've heavily considered is Deadeye, of course. Being an archer, he can take advantage of Deadeye to nullify damage reduction, but he can't really use any of Shinon's other skills, and since most of his combat will still be on enemy phase, sweeping in to intercept attacks, and ranged units don't generally get access to damage reduction, I don't think it's quite necessary and quite worth foddering Shinon. Though it is definitely something that's on the table in the future, but I think he'll work fine with Aether for now. We're going to go ahead and grab Ward Armor. He probably won't end up using it, but still doesn't hurt to have in case I want to run a full armor team. Next up, we are going to go ahead and grab Kestrel Stance 2 from Yanfei, which will allow us to grab Kestrel Stance 3 alongside Savvy Fighter from Valentine's Lucina. And this is part of what I meant by he's even easier to get fodder for than Alphonse, because Lucina just has two fantastic skills that he can grab at the same time right there. And finally, we are going to grab DR Far Save from Winter Arthur. And that will allow him to swoop in and save his allies, and it also rounds out the last of his inheritance. See, Ignatz isn't very fussy to get gifts for. He's already quite content with just that. A very low maintenance boy. For his blessing, we're going to go ahead and give him an Anima blessing. Just feels very fitting for him. And with Alphonse, that gives us a +10 savior on both Light Dark Season and Astra Anima Season. Since Ignatz only has one weapon, we don't have a lot to refine, but we are going to go ahead and speed refine his Tannin Bow, just to bump up his speed even higher. And now we're going to just start learning the various skills. Won't take too long since he doesn't have a ton of different options here. Alright, all of his various skills have been learned, though there's not a huge variety here. This was probably the least amount of skills I've given to a +10 unit, but he's all ready to go. And we are ready to build up our good boy. With the lack of options here, you can probably figure out where this build is going, but let's go ahead and go over the options anyway. So for his weapon, we are sticking with his default Tannin Bow, which gives him a nice boost to his attack and def, which rounds out his defense and puts it almost on par with his res, 41 def and 42 res, which is pretty nice. He does have other options, but this one's really good and he comes with it, so I didn't see a reason to swap it out. Though I wouldn't mind getting him the Springy Bow, which instead boosts his attack and speed. And while Tannin Bow has a unity effect, giving him buffs if he gets debuffed, the Springy Bow just negates. So it's not quite as powerful, but it does affect his speed, which is the slightly more relevant stat in my opinion for him. So I wouldn't mind getting him that eventually, or if they release a non-seasonal version, I think that would be another very solid option for him. And the Tannin Bow also further differentiates him from Alphonse, which is something I was very worried about when I first decided I wanted to build both of them. But Aside from their color and the fact that Alphonse does magical damage while Ignatz does physical damage, with the new fighter skill, Ignatz is able to lean much more into his speed, whereas Alphonse can lean more into raw physical and magical bulk. So that also helps differentiate them. But in addition to that, Alphonse is more about ignoring enemy buffs, while Ignatz instead negates his own debuffs, which further helps to differentiate them. So he can soak things like a chill or a sabotage and still be fine if it's affecting his attack and death, which again is kind of why I do like the idea of Springy Bow, even if it doesn't give that unity effect. Being able to prevent any speed debuffs, since he has such high speed and relies on his speed so heavily, is I think a little bit more useful, but Tannenbow is still a great option that he comes with by default, so we're going to stick with that. For his assist, we do of course have swap, drawback, reposition, all very solid options depending on the map and what we need of him. But I also like rally attack speed. Since he is more enemy phase oriented, it does let him provide a buff on player phase and then swoop in to defend on enemy phase. And I do like the idea of potentially giving him rally def res in the future, especially if he's with a melee armor who doesn't really care about their speed. They could take rally attack speed and rally him, and then he could rally them for def res, and they could just kind of protect each other. Could be interesting, but he came with rally attack speed in his base kit, so we just went ahead and gave him that. For his special, we are going to take Aether. It will be a little slow since he doesn't have a way to charge his special, and he's not running a slaying weapon. But with his doubles, he should be able to still get it up frequently enough, and mostly we just need some sustain since he is not getting that passive sustain from his weapon. Again, I think Deadeye is another solid option, but the fact that less ranged units have access to damage reduction makes it a little less appealing in my opinion. But it's definitely still on the table in the future. For the A slot, he actually does have a few different options. Speed Def Form can further patch up his def, which could also be useful if we swap out Tannenbow, while still giving him a nice speed boost, which he really appreciates. Attack Speed Bond instead boosts his damage a little bit and is a little more flexible on the positioning. He should be able to trigger it fairly easily since he should be swooping in to protect allies from ranged attacks, so it should be online most of the time. And both this and Speed Def Form give him more of a mixed phase option. Since he does have that good speed, he can actually take out units on player phase, but he does want to mostly be leaning into his enemy phase niche, so I think Kestrel Stance is a very natural option for him. It gives him that guard effect and a nice boost to his attack and speed, just very solid, and it was a throw-in alongside Savvy Fighter. And I'm still amazed that they decided to make this option available for ranged units as well. It gives null follow-up and damage reduction, which is just insane, and is the skill that I think really actually makes speed-based armors a bit more viable. Before this, they only really had like Special Fighter and that one Desperation Fighter as super viable options, and I don't even see anyone use that Desperation Fighter anyway, so I think this is just really good. The one thing is Special Fighter will charge your special a bit faster, so it doesn't completely outclass Special Fighter, but I think that being able to just run a guard effect on the A slot and then take this for damage reduction, null follow-up, is just so good that it's worth having the slower special. For the C slot, again, Ward Armor and Def Tactic, not the greatest options, but Ward Armor does let him run an armor stack if he wants. If we get more armors in the future and I want to run a full armor team, it does give him an option there if I don't want him to be the designated far save unit. And then Def Tactic he just kind of comes with. Still kind of an odd choice, but it's not completely useless. I think they should have given him like Speed Tactic or something instead, but whatever. As we all know, the main reason we wanted to build this boy is for the far save, and we gave him DR far save, which is very solid. I did consider waiting until we got a speed-based far save for him, but DR far save is still really good. With Tannenbow bumping up his def to 41 and his res at 42, this will give him 45 def and 46 res, which means that even if he gets outsped and doesn't get Savvy Fighter's damage reduction, he'll still have insane bulk to help him survive. So I think it's just a fantastic option on him. For this seal, he has a bunch of different options as usual. I actually like the idea of running Mystic Boost on him because unlike Alphonse, who has sustain in his weapon, he doesn't have that, and he doesn't have a way to charge Aether faster. So this would give him a bit more of a cushion if he has to take repeated attacks and can't get Aether online fast enough. But I think more consistently, since he wants that speed so badly, I think it's better to lean into that. We could take attack speed form or something like Kestrel stance or any of the other speed boosting stances just to further buff up his speed and also his other stats. But I kind of like a very simple attack speed bond on him. Not fancy, but it should be triggering just about every time, and it gives one more attack and speed over Kestrel stance, with which how fast some units can be. Every point of speed can actually matter. But again, something like attack speed form could go even higher, though then you have to worry about making sure all your units are clumped up, which can be bad on certain maps when you need units to go off on their own. So I think attack speed bond is just a very solid option for him all around. So not the most insanely out there build, but it does work very well and will make him a very fast armor in contrast to our other savior, Alphonse. So with all of this active, he should be getting 11 speed, 16 attack, 9 defense, and 4 res, which is pretty solid given his already very high base stats. Not bad at all for a free unit. And now it is time to pick our teammates for our Good Boys showcase. So Ignatz is going to bring along his professor to oversee his progress, and it is only natural to also bring wonderful Seteth. He can defend both of them from ranged units, and they can in turn help protect him from melee attacks. And for the last member of the Angel Army, I don't have anyone who's a perfect fit, but I think that given that Ignatz has a deep reverence for a certain red dragon, it's only fair that we bring Papa Garen. I mean, like, really, you can't tell much of a difference.
Oh, yes.
So we will just have Byleth and Seteth able to rush forward, attack enemies, pull back with Gale Force, and stand in the way to block melee attacks from hitting Ignatz. He can defend them from ranged units. And then Papa Garen is kind of an all-around tank, but he can also defend melee attacks for Ignatz, and Ignatz can also take ranged attacks if needed. And Garen can also cripple enemies for our other units. So that will be a fun team to test this out with. All right, we are here in Arena Assault to test our team. I actually had to wait a few days because for some reason you can't do Arena Assault while Summoner Duels, Ranked Modes, and Survival Duels are up. I don't know who made that decision, but now we can test our boy and see how he does. But I'm going to fish for a team with some ranged units, so I'll be looking for those. All right, we've got a Tharja lead. A full Tharja emblem. All right, Ignatz, you're up. This will be tricky, though. They are pretty fast Tharjas. And again, Ignatz does kind of have an issue due to not being able to charge his special that fast, so he can get worn down by repeated attacks. So that is something to bear in mind. Let's go ahead and move them up like so. Tharja attacks versus Ignatz. Reduce the damage. And one-shots are back. That's actually a case where it probably would have been beneficial to take multiple hits because it would allow him to It would allow him to charge his special a bit more. But we're going to pull back yet again, get her off of that defense tile. Alright, Rajat attacks. Reduces it down by a bit and takes her out in one shot on the counterattack. And that is a lot of attack, so it is in our best interest not to have Ignatz rush in. And okay. We'll have Ignatz rally. Now Seth can take out Tharja. And we will send Byleth up to finish the job. So Ignatz can't quite charge fast enough. That's something that is becoming apparent, is that he does struggle to get through multiple engagements. So swapping his Aether for something like Soul or Noontime that has better uptime might be beneficial. But he does do a pretty good job of tanking still. And he has more kill power without relying on that double, unlike Alphonse. But the sustain is really getting him down, is something I've noticed. Since that was another short showcase, I think we will do another quick montage and just show Ignatz tanking some other ranged threats and seeing how he holds up in a few other scenarios. Hit me. Hit me. So that was a quick build and showcase of the Angel Army's newest member, Ignatz, our awesome, adorable angel artist. Yeah, he can take commissions and make beautiful artwork of the Angel Army, and then paint the whole battlefield red. One thing I definitely noticed while testing him was that he does struggle to survive multiple engagements just due to that lowered sustain on Aether. So I do think swapping it out for something that charges a little faster, has a bit better uptime like Soul or Noontime would be beneficial. He will lose that kill power, but it will just make him an all-around better tank. And he does really appreciate having some team support to just help with the speed gap. He is fast, but speed creep is always marching onward. And even with an effective 60 base speed with Kestrel Stance and attack speed bond, he can still get outsped. So giving some team support is helpful. But for a free-to-play friendly armor, he does still hold up pretty dang well. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with him. And despite being another save armor, he does give us a different playstyle compared to Alphonse, so I'm pretty happy about that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you found this fun and interesting, and until next time, this is Hoodie Angel Brandon and Ignatz signing out.